I feel everybody wants to do solar and storage. The problem is industrial policy. What needs to change in next 6 months?
75% of the world's population live in countries who are net importers of fossil fuel. And I understand, the wish of countries as this develops to 35%, the $1 trillion opportunity needs to be captured by those countries as well.
The fact that where industry is investing more in clean energy, it pays back, it's cost competitive. And this is where we need to show that there is a business case and that it's convenient. We are not just going to do it for climate and environment, which we have to do, but it's also because it helps to be competitive.
What's the thinking in EU right now on what would be a clear, tangible sets of next 6 months to a year of what Electrify Now may actually entail? Over to you.
Thank you very much, Director General, and good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation. And indeed, I think that the fireside chat on electrification is very timely at the moment. Before going into Electrify Now, I think you have read the press of the COP31 presidency announcement of a global target of 35% by 2035. I'm sure that Bruce will also elaborate a bit more later. But all signs are converging towards the same direction. The whole world is talking about it. And it's quite fun in a way that we started to talk about electrification a bit more substantially back in Belém at COP30, when we had a very good ministerial on the doubling and tripling of the doubling and tripling pledge of COP28, the first global stocktake. And then everybody was saying, okay, what's next? What do leaders need to discuss next year? And electrification came up as the topic, very much converging everybody. So we started to work on this initiative that then we called Electrify Now, with the COP31 presidencies of Turkey and Australia, and with the COP32 presidency of Ethiopia, together with the United Kingdom. And then what happened is that the crisis hit, yet another crisis, because to be honest, in the last 5 years, we have seen a number of crises coming our way, and Europe has been very much exposed to the vulnerability of the fossil fuel imports, so we really lived it on our skin. And there we have really decided to reshape this initiative that we were developing around the energy security, energy resilience, affordability, energy access, etc. So in a way, this initiative was born more as a climate environment initiative in the framework of COP, and it has moved very quickly into an energy security, and I would say even generally national security, economic security topic. So this has been a big shift of the last months, and we have seen that this trend is just continuing and increasing. So that's a bit the context. Also, Electrify Now comes in a moment where the European Union is also doing its homework, because we have worked in the last years on our legislative measures, on the targets. Most of you are from Europe, so you are very aware of this. But there was a lot missing. That's why we came out with the GRIDS package last year. It's under negotiation at the moment with the co-legislators, and we will soon present an electrification action plan where our president has promised an ambitious target. It's still under discussion, but we do hope it's going to go in the most ambitious direction. So in a way, Electrify Now, what does it want to do? It wants to elevate the topic at the highest possible level in the international agenda, and not only the international energy agenda or the international climate agenda, but the international leaders agenda, because it has to be seen as a topic that goes beyond our bubble, our climate, energy, environment bubble, but it has to talk to everybody. So to the financing, to the economic, to the defense, to the security. It has to be a whole of government approach where everybody has to understand why we have to move into that direction. So that's the main objective of this initiative. Concretely, what we want to do, we want to showcase what we are already all doing. ISA is an excellent example of concrete initiatives that are happening all over the world on scaling up solar generation. A lot is happening all over the place. The thing is that it's not that visible all the time. So our work is to take everything that is out there, bring it together and elevate it so that leaders can really speak with one voice and really show that that's the way to go. The other thing that we hope is going to happen is that in the next couple of years, electrification will really be scaled up. That's why we are working closely with financial institutions, where we hope that more investments from both public and private sector are gonna flow in that direction. And of course, with industry, and Bruce has been working quite a lot in the last months also to put together an industry campaign on electrification. So I would stop now in the interest of time, and then I can further elaborate. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Bruce, from a private sector perspective, give us a framework. It's a crisis, great opportunity to go from 20% primary energy electrification to at least 35%. What needs to happen when you say from the private sector perspective on policy, regulation, incentive, or financing or de-risking?
Thank you, Director General and Ashish, and thank you for the invitation to be here today. As Alessia said, we've been working very closely with governments and the European Union over the last 6 months to develop this electrification initiative. I was actually in Bonn 2 days ago with Minister Karam and Minister Bowen, the two COP president designates, in the announcement of this target. The target, let me be clear, is extremely ambitious. 35% of final energy use, so not useful energy, final energy use, is very high. We as the private sector, of course, support it. We've been working for many years on the supply side, the generation, and as mentioned on grids and storage. But this critical discussion about demand needs to take place. This is the fastest and most effective way to transition away from fossil fuels. It creates long-term structural decline in fossil fuel demand. As you see on the screen, there's a range of different electrification rates across the countries, so all starting from different levels. I will just quickly, that's the 35%. So it requires increasing from 0.3% increase per year to 1.3 per year. And as you say, not much is happening at the moment, Ashish. In fact, for 100 years, we've been electrifying the energy system, and we're at 23% today. We need to go to 35% in the next 10 years. Put it in context, China has increased 10 percentage points in the last 10 years. So is it possible? Yes. Is it difficult? Yes. I think the question, as you rightly ask, is what needs to be true in order for this to happen? And there's 4 things we would ask for. One is very clear national plans. So locate electrification in the center of your energy transition plans. So it's both supply and demand. The second is work on taxes and subsidies. In many European countries, the taxation on electricity is still 3 or 4 times what it is on gas. That needs to be balanced. Simply move, I say simply, it's much different, move the taxation on electricity to general taxation. Also balance subsidies would be a good move. The third is grids and storage. I won't go into that in detail. It's been covered many times. Clearly, to get the abundant green electrons to the demand side needs to move them in time and location using grids and storage. And finally, and really importantly, is the workforce. This target will require significant uptick in skilled workers. The good news is that 75% of the energy system can already be electrified cost effectively with existing technologies. And if you do that, you remove 70-80% of the emissions. If you've not seen it, this electrification staircase is on our website. This gives you a guide as to what can be electrified now cost effectively and what can be in the future. That bottom step, which is passenger cars, 2- and 3-wheelers, congratulations to India, 60% of your 3-wheelers being purchased today are electric. Just step A is 50% of global emissions. Electrify that and you halve emissions from those sectors. Thank you, Ashish.
So we'll have one quick round of questions again. And maybe I'll start from Bruce this time. Bruce, great 4 clear points, clear national plans, remove distortionary taxes and subsidies, come out clearly on grid and storage, and talk about the job aspect of skilling. Let me ask a little bit more of a difficult question. I feel everybody wants to do solar and storage. The problem is industrial policy, or where are they being made? If there was a good answer for that, I can assure you your 1.3 percentage pace will be done. So we are having multiple goals that become very difficult to optimize. Otherwise, everybody would have done electric vehicles. We all know the reason why there is a brake on electric vehicles. In that multiple variable equation, what needs to change in next 6 months to come out with a very clear dent on industries, transport, and households? And let me give a little bit of a pointer. What is the role of new technologies like green hydrogen, like BIPV, in pushing a lot of this rather than looking only at existing technologies?
Great question, Ashish, and quite difficult. I mean, industrial policy is central to this. In our title of our organization, it's the Global Renewables Alliance. So you can imagine we're open to all global markets. I'll give you two statistics. 75% of electrotech, that's supply and the demand side, EVs, batteries, is controlled and manufactured in Asia. 75% of the world's population live in countries who are net importers of fossil fuel. So there's two opportunities / challenges. To your point, industrial policy, we're sitting in Europe, and I understand, the wish of countries as this develops to 35%, the $1 trillion opportunity needs to be captured by those countries as well. I would say look to your own home markets, create a plan, incentivize, subsidize, create the market, the home market that can drive the installation, but also the manufacturing of these technologies. All is not lost in any country. China obviously dominates with most of the technologies, but many countries do still have a leadership position. In Europe, it's transformers, it's on the grid side, cables, it's on heat pumps. So there's a range of different technologies and even develop and become a leader in the world. Southeast Asia, Latin America, and Africa can also become manufacturing hubs if incentivized in the right way. I don't think the defensive measures are the way to do it. High tariffs and blockades of imports. There's a much better way, which is develop strong home markets. Thanks.
Alicia, it's a difficult question for policymakers as well. How would you look at low-hanging fruits? Because I feel, and I must re-emphasize, we should not waste a crisis. And from where I sit, I see openness on all countries to embrace solar and electrification. But when you say, okay, can you move from 0.3% to 1% in next 1 year? That answer I'm not finding very clearly. Now that you have a very clear window, how do you see using this momentum on that?
Yes, thank you. I think it's on different angles. So the first is from a European Union perspective is that we really need to put the ground for more union of the energy market. So that's where the grids package come in, where we really need more interconnections. We need some fast permitting. So there are a number of measures that governments and policymakers need to take to accelerate action. That's our homework. The second part is about industrial policy, super important, and that's where we need also to equip our industry, our entrepreneur with the right tools, because indeed, and just to be honest, the situation is not the same in all our member states. Those member states invested more in renewables, in clean power generation domestically, were much better placed in facing the crisis compared to the others. So also, in a way, they give the example of the fact that where industry is investing more in clean energy, it pays back, it's cost competitive. And this is where we need to show that there is a business case and that it's convenient. We are not just going to do it for climate and environment, which we have to do, but it's also because it helps to be competitive. And from this point of view, there are a number of measures that we are taking in terms of diversification of imports. To make more resilient supply chains, for example, or having international partnerships to attract investments, to have foreign investments coming to Europe. So we have really to populate the whole Europe with instruments and tools for companies to be able to scale up. Because as you say, they are there and they are ready to go for it. But there are certain barriers that need to be faced. And that's also the role of policymakers. So that's my not easy and simple reply. But maybe on low-hanging fruit, I mean, there is a lot happening in many countries. For example, heat pumps. They are there, the use is just increasing, so it's a low-hanging fruit. Electric vehicles. On industry, it's a bit more complicated when we talk about the carbonization of industry. When it's about low, medium temperatures, it's happening. It's just, again, and it's back to my point before, not always visible. So maybe some people are doing it, but people don't know that it's happening, and so it's difficult to attract further investment. So that's where we need to work in the next 6 months.
Very much for that very honest and clear. If you may allow me, in addition to electric vehicles and heat pumps, we feel digitization for greater integration of distributed renewable energy will also go a long way. This conversation can really go a long time, but we are really running fast. So a big thanks to Alicia and Douglas. Please give them a big round of applause. Thank you, Bruce.